美国严打非法移民，非法移民勿看，因为观看本视频产生的任何副作用，后果自负。
Off the top of 6 tonight, human smuggling in South Florida. A U-Haul van full of suspected migrants stopped by police in Coral Gables. Nearly 24 people, mostly from China, were brought here by boat. But that was just the beginning of their odyssey in South Florida.
The migrants now in custody along with the suspected smugglers. Let's get right to look with Janine Stanwood live in Coral Gables with our top story at 6. Janine.
An incredibly dangerous situation for everyone involved, unfolding right here on a busy Lejeune road.
It's all hands on deck.
HSI's here, Miami-Dade's here. Nobody can get out of their houses.
A wild scene in Coral Gables. More than 20 migrants, mostly from China, part of a suspected smuggling operation, treated inside a city trolley after arriving by boat.
We're hearing that this all started back there by Snapper Creek with a possible abduction, and Coral Gables police came rushing this way.
Sources say it all unfolded when they were dropped off by a vessel Friday morning along the Snapper Creek Canal and put into vehicles. An alert resident calls police.
A very alert security professional from one of our homeowners associations observed an abduction in progress. She notified one of our patrolling officers about what she had observed.
And these are the moments an officer drives up on them. Most migrants crammed in this U-Haul van, 3 inside the small Toyota in front of it.
The officers removed or opened the back of the truck, which revealed 21 predominantly Chinese nationals.
4 suspected smugglers now in custody. You can see this woman in handcuffs. The U.S. Border Patrol and Homeland Security investigations on scene. Agents combing through that Toyota, which has Texas tags.
I can't stress enough the vigilance of our citizenry that absolutely goes above and beyond by letting us know.
The chief says lives have been saved. You can see right now that little piece of crime scene tape. That is all that is left of this scene. It has been cleared. Those migrants, we understand, have been taken to a Border Patrol facility in Dania Beach to be processed. The whereabouts of the smugglers in the boat, that's under investigation. We're in Coral Gables. I'm Janine Stanwood, Local 10 News.
Quite
The enforcement and removal operations. We have a very unique role in the federal law enforcement community. We are the only entity that identifies, apprehends, detains, and ultimately removes from the country. So we have a broad scope of responsibility. Ultimately, our job is to ensure that the individuals that are in this country circumventing the laws of the immigration system are brought to justice and are removed, and it's our job to keep our community safe. We're targeting individuals that are circumventing our immigration laws, that have come to this country to do harm to our citizens, to our communities, to our country. We're targeting individuals who are national security. We're targeting individuals who are just, in general, violating the immigration laws as they're currently written. If we're going into a cooperative jurisdiction, I can send 2 officers max to pick someone up, put them in the vehicle, transport them here. It's a clean environment, so we know that individual has already been searched. There's no contraband, there's no weapons. I can send 2 officers. When we're going out into our communities to find these individuals at large, we believe in safety in numbers. We want to know that our officers are going to have backup if it's needed. Every case is going to be different, and the outcome of every case will be different. I don't know what's to come in the next 4 years, but myself and my workforce, we are public servants. We're always going to do what the mission calls for. So it doesn't matter. We're an apolitical entity. We just carry out the mission. The community are the victims of these individuals coming in and committing the crimes. So nobody, no matter where they're from, nobody wants to be a victim of crime. And I feel very comfortable saying that enforcement and removal operations have things in place, like we have the victim-centered approach in place, where if someone is a victim of crime, we're going to look at that differently. We're not going to target you. We're going to work with you. I respect the mission that we do. I believe in the mission that we do. I believe that the end game of protecting our community, I come from a Hispanic background, but if you come to this country and do harm, then this is not a place where you need to be.
New at 9, 22 people in the U.S. illegally, all with criminal histories, were arrested by ICE agents in Denver last month as part of a multi-week operation.
Fox 31's Nate Belt talking with a retired ICE agent today who says this is likely a preview of what's to come later this year. Nate?
Yeah, guys, it all happened between December 9th and 20th. ICE's enforcement and removal operations Denver officers taking in 22 people from 6 different countries. They were here illegally in the United States and have pending criminal charges or previous convictions. A former ICE officer, John Fabricatori, tells me these kinds of sweeps are exactly what ICE was designed to do.
Even though we may not always hear about it,
this is what the men and women of ICE do every single day.
22 people from 6 different countries arrested in December, all in Denver and all with criminal offenses ranging from DUIs to a pending murder charge.
They have targeted enforcement. So they will look at certain areas, they will look at cases in those areas, and then they'll target those cases so that they can take their forces and send them out and be able to safely make those arrests in the community.
Retired ICE officer John Fabricatori says operations like this are common and that this one is likely a preview of what's to come when Donald Trump retakes office this month.
We can suppose that there will be an uptick compared to what the Biden administration has arrested over the last 4 years.
Denver Mayor Mike Johnston has previously said public he opposes Trump's mass deportation plan, but Fabricatori believes the city will cooperate when it comes to cases like this one.
I don't think the Denver mayor is going to stand out there and keep ICE from arresting criminal aliens, but if he does, ICE isn't going to stop.
A cooperation Fabricatori says ICE would like to happen, with one of the arrested suspects having been previously released from custody on a $5,000 bond despite facing a murder charge.
ICE would rather work with local law enforcement and make these arrests at the local jail level, but if Sanctuary City is going to continue to happen in Denver County, ICE will go into the community to make those arrests.
Fabricatori says these 22 individuals are now likely to be put before an immigration judge before possibly being deported, a process he says can take some time. In studio, Nate Belt, Fox 31.
Well, developing right now, we're just days away from a new president and what's promised to be the biggest deportation effort in U.S. history. Sources tell CBS News sanctuary cities like Chicago will be targeted as early as Tuesday. Local leaders and immigrant rights groups met this morning in the Pilsen neighborhood to make sure the community is prepared. Our Noel Brennan was there.
There are good days and bad, Mari Rodriguez says. But she's grateful for every day she works, selling tamales to the Pilsen community. She migrated from Venezuela and has been in Chicago just a year. Mari admits she's fearful about what might happen Tuesday if Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers arrive in Chicago as promised by President-elect Trump's border czar.
And we'll start right here in Chicago, Illinois.
This community has been the subject of attacks and immigration raids going back to the 1960s. The current threats are nothing new.
Local leaders joined immigrant advocates Saturday to reassure and remind the undocumented community of their rights.
You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to not open the door. You have the right to ask to speak to an attorney.
The reminder comes just a day after a Wall Street Journal report cited sources claiming up to 200 ICE officers are coming to Chicago.
Right now, there is no official statement or order that raids are going to be taking place. Do we expect additional agents to be sent here? Of course. Starting perhaps on Tuesday, we don't know. It's going to take time. The important thing is to remain calm, as Chicago has done when tested in other times as well.
ICE raids happened in Chicago in 2018, but in 2022, the American Civil Liberties Union settled a lawsuit with the Department of Homeland Security that changed how ICE can work in Illinois.
Well, ICE should not be going up to random people on the streets and asking to see their documentation, and that's why it's important that people know that they have the right to remain silent if ICE does do that.
The message in this room is not to be afraid, but be prepared.
Regardless of your legal status, you have rights.
Noel Brennan, CBS News, Chicago.
Our thanks to Noel. The Resurrection Project, a nonprofit, set up a hotline to help families. They're affected by an ICE raid, and they wanted to make sure everyone had it. It's on your screen. It is 855-435 7693. Responding to reports of looming ICE raids in Chicago, Governor J.B. Pritzker also tried to reassure people on X, formerly known as Twitter. He posted, "Every family and child deserves to feel safe and secure in the place they call home. Every resident of Illinois should know their rights." Included in this post, a link to those rights, advice, and a phone number for legal help.
Now to immigration in Kern County. In recent days, reports of a surge in raids of undocumented residents have been circulating on social media. 17's Jenny Hutt joins us now live in studio with the details. Jenny?
Bakersfield Police tells us they were notified by the Department of Homeland Security and Border Patrol that they would be conducting operations in Kern County this week.
What we're hearing is that the CBP pulling cars over and profiling folks. They're reported being seen at like the most transient site for farm workers.
CBP is Customs and Border Protection. Sightings of Border Patrol activities is being reported all over Kern County, from Maricopa to the downtown Gap bus station, even door to door and on freeways. But this Chevron off 7 Standard and Merle Haggard saw arrests firsthand.
Well, we usually get our normal people in here coming in. They buy their food, they go to work, and they were field workers. And as soon as they paid their food and everything, they went outside. And as soon as they went outside, they grabbed them. They started taking their belongings. They were all laughing while their food was getting thrown away.
They, as in Border Patrol agents. Employee Candy Garcia tells 17 News. Garcia says the agents, many undercover, parked right outside and took away 2 vanfuls of people. She says they'll likely be back
because they were here doing that yesterday at McDonald's.
She and the gas station owners say it's no coincidence the agents targeted their Chevron.
And none of the other stores got hit except for this one because it's like the bigger one. This is where almost everybody comes in.
99% they are farmer workers. They are my regular customer, my regular bread and butter.
Dylan says it's to the extent that most of the food he serves is Mexican cuisine.
What happened today, it is the first time I hear it. I'm a permanent legal person. And I'm scared too.
If they looked Hispanic or like they worked in the fields or, you know, they looked a little dirty, they would ask for their papers.
Witnesses also say agents checked paperwork in the parking lot.
They approach the person in her car, and when she refused to get out, they try to block her in by refusing her car to move.
And after checking this individual's paperwork, the agents headed out. When asked if there are any ongoing operations in Kern, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE referred 17 News to CBP. CBP is separate from ICE. The sightings in Kern have been of Border Patrol agents. In California, local law enforcement cannot assist ICE or other such federal bodies on immigration matters. Sheriff Donnie Youngblood says KCSO is not involved with any current operations that may be ongoing.
We are a few days away from the new administration taking office, and this is, in fact, what they threaten with.
Now, we did hear back from CBP a little after 4. They tell us they're working on a media statement, and will get that to us in the coming hours or days. We'll see. Jenny Hutt, 17 News.
Watching Eyewitness News, we are live at 5 o'clock. Check out this video. Long lines and growing fears outside the Carolinas' only ICE office.
Even at 3 a.m., I was still number 60 in line.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Erica Bryant.
And I'm Evan Donovan in for Scott Wickersham. Even with temperatures in the 20s, people have been sleeping outside the ICE office on Tyvola Road. There's fear that once President-elect Donald Trump is sworn in on Monday, the chances of deportation will go up.
Channel 9's Joe Bruno talked to an immigration lawyer. He is joining us live. Joe, not much that can be done for some of these people.
Yeah, President Donald Trump has made it clear he's going to crack down on illegal immigration. But an immigration attorney told us at this point there isn't anything people can really do ahead of time while Biden is still in office. But still, for days, we've seen extremely long lines outside of the ICE office here in Southwest Charlotte. And some people are telling us it's because they are afraid.
The weather was in the 20s and the line outside was in the hundreds. Robert Barker arrived at 3 a.m. and was the 60th person waiting.
It's frustrating. It is really frustrating.
Barker had to submit paperwork. He was originally given an appointment for last week, only to be told to come back this week. For the past 3 days, he's been trying, and after hours of waiting, he finally got through.
People line wall to wall. I mean, just, man, people upon people upon people. And they move pretty fast in there, but there's a system and it's broken.
Everyone in line has a different reason for wanting to come before ICE. Some may be trying to check in with ICE before an immigration hearing or attempt to renew their parole, which is essentially permission to remain in the U.S. for a set period of time. People who entered under the Biden administration entered under parole. Over the past 2 days, we've heard a similar thought process from many in line. They are trying to check in with ICE now before President Donald Trump returns to office.
I'm fearful. We are all fearful. The news, the gossip, that people are going to get deported, one gets very scared. But I have to take a risk.
Immigration attorney Jamila Espinosa says there's no need to rush to ICE now ahead of Trump taking office.
Those that are already in proceedings, they're in proceedings. And so they're still going to get their opportunity to appear before the judge because that's how the law is written.
She says the Trump administration will prioritize people with removal orders who haven't filed an appeal. Still, she says she isn't surprised at the chaos outside of ICE. She says many people are scared and looking for answers.
When you're desperate and you are fearful, sometimes fear will make someone be willing to stand in a line, for many hours for something that they don't have to do. And a lot of it is just not understanding how the law works.
ICE believes that the holidays, as well as the closure for the National Day of Mourning, contributed to that long line that we've been seeing for the past couple of days. More personnel have been deployed here to help get through the line. Reporting live in Southwest Charlotte, Joe Bruno, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Joe, a lot of concern out there. Thank you for bringing us the story.